follow me.
Got a little trouble up in paradise. Baby, come on over, won't you free my mind? Alright, everybody hurts a little more at night. I won't let it get the best of me this time. Alright.
I refuse to accept that I should be made to feel like I'm ashamed or I should hide in the dark about my drug use.
There are black people on PrEP now, like very out there, and like I'm on PrEP, like it's nothing.
If we stop caring, we're kind of cutting off a piece of ourselves.
I don't know who needs to hear this. We came here to get some healing. You could tell what was asking, fuck what's that, but what's the...
I wish that more queens who are HIV positive would use their platform to talk about what's going on and raise awareness.
Relationships and sex were nothing what I thought they were going to be.
So what are we waiting for, huh, Rash? Hurry, I'm coming!
They had to make sure the handshake or the hand holding wasn't gay. That was why they said, like, hold my hand, bro.
Yeah.
It keeps it straight.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Dane, for those of you who haven't had the chance to meet yet, and I'm the director of the Gay Men's Sexual Health Alliance. That was a sizzle reel, which captures some of our work over the last couple of years. So for folks who don't know us, it's really our role to tell the stories of queer men in our community, about sex, about sexual health, and we work with providers across the province to increase the quality of care for gay, bi, queer men throughout our communities. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I want to give a special acknowledgement. I'm actually going to look at the camera right there to the hundreds of folks who are joining us actually from around the world. I was looking at the registration list this morning. I saw folks registered from as far away as Vietnam, Pakistan, the UK, the United States, and I think it's a reminder that Party and Play does not know any borders, and our desire for connection and community is universal. Tonight is really a celebration as much as anything else. It's a chance for us to acknowledge the incredible contributions of all the folks that you see around the room this evening. Many of them are here with us tonight. Our work on P&P started several years ago, and it wasn't a sprint. It wasn't even a marathon. I would say it was really a relay. And looking around the room tonight and seeing so many folks who have been connected to this work over many, many years, I just want to say that our work really is building on all of your contributions. We're here tonight on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat. And Toronto is known as a gathering place, and I can't think of a more perfect place to gather tonight as a community than this iconic theater, Buddies in Bad Times. And so I just want to also give it up for all the staff at Buddies for all the care that they're providing tonight. I think, projects like this are the result of really great teams. And so I'm gonna, usually you would keep acknowledgements to the end, but I thought, let's get them right at the start. So I want to thank, first of all, our funders, HIV and hepatitis C programs at the Ministry of Health, not just for funding our work, which is really important, and please keep doing that, but really being partners in this work. I know that the team there does care very deeply about these issues, and they have been really, really helpful over the years, encouraging us to move this conversation forward and really supportive of this work. I want to thank the GMSH team, past and present, for their hard work, but also putting up with me over the last several weeks in the lead up to this event and riding that roller coaster. It's been a journey, we'll just say that. I really want to thank, we've had students like Lucas and Bradley who have contributed to this work, people like Yasser who helped us, really develop new understandings of PNP and what it means in our lives. You know, nights like this are a lot of work to pull together, and the folks at King Events, I have to say, are the best in the business. They have taken so much care for us. In fact, when the topic of furniture rentals came up, this was the very first suite of furniture that they sent to us, and we said, you know, you really know us well. It's absolutely over the top, just like us. So thanks to them as well. And the servers, the photographers, everyone. Aaron, I see you right there, who we're going to have a great dance party after. Everyone who made this work possible and tonight possible. Partyandplay.info is really a platform for storytelling, which we're going to touch on a lot tonight, and resources and supports for people in our community who I know we're all here because we care so deeply about it. I think nights like tonight plant the seeds for change. And speaking of planting seeds, you know, figuratively, maybe literally as well, I'm really honored to hand the mic over to Jordan, who is our coordinator of PNP and chemsex initiatives and brings so much heart to the work that we do. And tonight really, and this whole project really would not be possible without their contributions. So over to you, Jordan.
Whew. Hi, everybody. Hi. Great. That's how I know I'm amongst friends, because I can't see any of you out there right now. I'm like, ah. So my name is Jordan Bongor. I'm the coordinator of PNP and chemsex initiatives here at the GMSH. I love my job title. It's very fancy sounding. And I'm also a member of Toronto's PNP scene. So I identify as a gay man who uses drugs in a sexualized context. I'm so thrilled that we're all here together. I'm supposed to be saying like some historical context for folks and a little bit about why we're doing this work. So let me start by telling you a little bit of a story. It was about 15 years ago, actually. I was standing right over where you young gentlemen are standing in the audience for the very first Toronto forum or public discussion around chemsex PNP. It was hosted by the Toronto Gay and Bi Men's Crystal Meth Task Force. So I know we've got a couple of folks in the audience tonight who are part of that task force. I'm going to shout out to you in a moment, so be prepared to be embarrassed. At the time, crystal meth was highly stigmatized, still is. And it was very hard to have a conversation about it. And this was a really transformative event. The work of the task force was to sort of bring harm reduction approaches to the crystal meth issue in Toronto and to sort of educate gay men and queer men in the community about crystal meth and how to use it safely, or how to sort of find change if they need to find change. I didn't use crystal meth at the time. I was 27, and I came to support some friends. But I remember just the courage of the men up on the stage talking about their stories and sharing very publicly about PNP, which up until then nobody had been talking about publicly. It was incredibly to be part of that event. And that conversation happened 15 years ago, and here we are 15 years later about to have the same conversation. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the pioneering work of some of that task force that's here. So Nick Boyce, Sean Prue, and Tim Guimont, if you can wave your hands in the air. Wave your hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care. So a lot can happen in 15 years. As a member of Toronto's PNP scene, I've seen a lot happen. I've seen friends lose jobs and friends and family and relationships. I've seen people lose their sanity. I've seen people lose their lives being involved with PNP. And not because of PNP, because of the stigma around it and the silence that pervades so much of the work we do around PNP. We can't talk about it, and people are profoundly unsafe when they can't talk about something. A lot of that loss has been really hard to endure, but at the same time, I know in the audience tonight I have friends here who I've seen on this journey, and a lot of the gay men in our community, the queer men in our community, have banded together to support each other and make it through, to teach each other how to use safely, how to take care of each other. And so there's a lot of resilience in our community too. I think this project does a wonderful job of highlighting all of that. I had a lot of other things I wanted to say, but I just didn't really want to read off my notepad tonight because it's really boring to watch me read. I'm just so grateful that all of you are here tonight. I want to thank our Alliance members for all of the hard work that they've done on this campaign. I truly believe that you guys are going to make a change in this province for the better. And with that, I'm just going to uncomfortably hand the mic over to Adam.
Hi, folks. I'm Adam. I'm the manager of communications for the GMSH, and it's been a real pleasure to work on this campaign and with these folks. When I first started, we were doing a bit of a rethink of how we wanted to frame the campaign. And the thing that really came up was, we know the stats, we know the reports, we know the research, but a lot of it felt like it was lacking a real personal connection or bringing it to life. And so I came into the project at a time when we got to rethink how we wanted to bring it forward. And the idea of storytelling kept coming up over and over and over again. And so, when you think about what do we know collectively within our society about crystal meth use or about PNP, we mostly know the stories that have been portrayed in other media. So, you think about the chemsex documentary from Vice that showed a very particular slice of some people's experience and presented that as a sort of salacious, universal experience that people had to try to drum up viewers. And we know that that's not helpful. And we know that that's not complete. And we know that that's not fully true. So we had a moment where we said, okay, can we invite people in and have them share their stories and have them, rather than us try to present someone's story for them, create space for somebody to share the story for themselves. And so we have all the folks who we have portraits of, some of whom are in the room tonight, very bravely and courageously and generously came into a studio in the depths of COVID lockdowns with multiple rounds of tests. And everybody was masked and very carefully, scurried into a film studio and sat with us for 2 hours and shared their perspectives and their experiences. And what we see is both a real diversity in terms of the kinds of experiences that people have. What we really see is the difference in motivations for why people have used throughout their life and the way that changes. And what we've seen is a universal theme that emerges over and over again, which is one of connection, which is one of finding ways to move past stigma and shame and internalized shit that we deal with, right? Especially when it comes to sex. How many of us grow up in the context of associating gay sex with shame and the way that we desire with, really negative things that we've heard from friends, from family, from governments, from institutions, and understanding that motivation of wanting to move past that and wanting to experience something beyond that is something that I think we can all connect with. And so I really want to thank all the folks who were part of these videos, and they're now all up online, and they're available for you to watch and engage with. And just want to say thank you. And I believe we're now going to roll into a little teaser video for you all.
People are going to do drugs, just like people are going to fuck. I mean, so people are going to fuck and do drugs. So you might as well do your best to make both safe.
The Party and Play community is a really diverse community that has diverse needs. We all have this desire to connect, and we all have this desire to be seen, and this desire to be confident and to explore our sexuality openly.
For many, many generations, gay men, bi men have used drugs to intensify their sex lives.
People gain something from using crystal meth and having sex, and it's important to be aware of that if you actually want to really help them.
It was through the PNP scene that I learned that there is actually hope.
I started using it as a sexual drug. It was like a very powerful aphrodisiac, like the most powerful.
It's a form of bliss, a form of love, I would say.
Crystal was like this magical substance that all of a sudden relieved all of that discomfort that I felt.
Making out on it. I also like sucking dick for a long time while I'm also doing it.
It went from something that was fun to something that was problematic.
Meth kind of put me into a maze that I'm not sure I've found my way out of yet.
The goal isn't sobriety, the goal is leading a balanced lifestyle.
You don't have to hate yourself. Just because you can't quit doesn't mean you're a failure.
Just own it. Yeah, I use drugs. Done.
When it comes to community and queer men, the shame, the blame, the stigma, the judgment is not helpful. In fact, it's exacerbating or making the issue worse.
We have to have tough conversations about what it is that makes us stigmatize people who use drugs.
People who do drugs are good people. They've got all sorts of potential and capacity.
We're not less than human for some of the choices we've made. We're more human for being able to face some of the things we've been through.
Guys who PNP are worth supporting and loving and giving them access to supports that are meaningful to them.
We really need to completely flip it all over and start something new.
So you would have seen we had, of course, folks in the community share their experience. We also had really passionate folks who have been working in, community health for many, many years in different aspects of it, and we interviewed them as well to ask questions about how to provide care and their own experiences of providing care. And we're going to invite a few of them up. So I want to invite Dr. Tim Guimond, Nick Boyce, Vincent Francoeur, and Gavin Bajimo up to the stage, please. And I'm gonna hold court in this fabulous chair, which I want to take home with me. All right, we have an extra mic too. Gorgeous.
Think of the photos, Gavin.
I feel like Anderson Cooper or something. All right, I think one of the standout moments in that teaser actually was Shahzad sharing that he likes to suck dick for a really long time. But he had much more to say, actually, about the importance of being able to speak about PNP and growing up in a community that was not too friendly and finding his way to Toronto. So let's hear more actually about what Shahzad had to share.
It's so important to talk about it, to normalize it as just like another drug. My name is Shahzad. I am an escort and I produce content for OnlyFans, or porn. Yeah. So I'm from Calgary. It's very white. You always felt like the odd one out a little bit. There was just a sense of you were kind of a downgrade if you weren't white kind of thing. But it was when I came here, I always heard about, queer Bollywood nights. I went to this party called Queer Indian Mela, and it was my first time being in a space with other brown queers and listening to music that I used to secretly listen to in my room and having to keep it sort of separate from my queerness. And to be able to be in that space was so exhilarating, and I felt that sense of just all of me. I could just be all of me. I could move with all of me and not have to hide anything. It was that was what made me move here, because I'm okay, there's community here. I'm I need more of that kind of thing. The first time I ever saw crystal meth was in a bathhouse. I just saw the pipe, but I didn't really know what it was, and I didn't do it at the time. I just kind of saw it. And I remember one night I went to this, it was just a hookup kind of thing. And I remember going there and then experiencing it in that way. And it was one-on-one, and it was very I'm oh, this is I've never experienced this before. This is kind of cool. And to be honest, I don't know, it just kind of happened. In that moment, it was just a long night. I was out dancing and all this kind of stuff. And then it just sort of became part of the evening. So the first time I ever had experienced a sex party, and it was fun. I remember having that experience. I'm okay, this is kind of cool. I think the next time I experienced it, it felt very disconnecting a little bit, just because there was a lot of distraction. There's that sense of your environment not being completely secure, and it does make me feel vulnerable because you're just letting go. That experience, that's the part I kind of was okay, maybe not for me. And then having that experience one-on-one with somebody, I'm okay, this makes sense, because then I can just fully focus in on this person, and there's just one other person, and we have we just have our two energies to sort of deal with, and that feels safer to be vulnerable. It feels safer to negotiate boundaries. It feels safer to negotiate consent, to move freely, and to be able to enjoy what I enjoy about it, about the drug, yeah. I like making out on it. I also like sucking dick for like a long time while I'm also doing it. So there's that. It makes it just really fun. And the other person can lie back and I'm just like, I'm good. Like, this is fun for me. And I can just like go and enjoy the whole experience in that way. So just to fully embrace my inner like cock slut, it's amazing. Yeah. Being an escort, one big aspect of my sexual health is making sure that there is space given to me having sex that is not with a client. Otherwise, what ends up happening is just like when you're just having sex that is with a client, it starts to take from you. There was a period of time where the only sex that I was having sober was with clients. And for me, it was very much like, okay, we need to take a step. I need to only have sober sex now and just know what that feels like and to be able to do that. So it doesn't have that power over you in that kind of way. My boundaries that I have with Crystal, I don't keep it in the house. My experience has been with it sort of a part of just going out, I guess. And it just like ends up wherever you sort of end up and it sort of kind of happens in that way. Like I'm not using right now. It's pretty sporadic. It's important that people know that it's just like not everybody is addicted to it in that kind of way simply because there's so much shame that comes along with that. Be like, oh no, it's like you have it and then like you're addicted and like that's how it works. And so then if people are exploring, you know, then they'll hide it. That is what sort of leads you into self-destructive addiction when it's that sort of shame. But like for me, I never had to hide it. So I used to work within the ASO sector. So I would hear about harm reduction techniques and stuff like that. And the one thing that always stuck out to me was the fact that like, it's so important to talk about it, to normalize it as just like another drug, because I was able to have that space to be able to actually reflect on my use. Understand, you're like, okay, so it's entered into my life. What do I do? Okay, cool. So I just reach out to somebody. Hey, this happened. To be able to do that, you're able to understand your own movement with the drug because everybody has their own journey when it comes to that, right? I was able to sort of be empowered enough to know when to put in boundaries so it doesn't take from me because there was always people around me to sort of to catch me, you know? There is like a sense of unconditional love around me. And so having that has made me just, owe and love all of me. Just having people around you who can see you, all of you, and is just so important. If you are using crystal meth or if you have used crystal meth, you are worthy of self-reflection and you're worthy of love and family and understanding around you.
It's really wonderful. So we're going to get into it a little bit. First of all, how are you guys doing? Feeling good? So Shahzad talked about the importance of being able to talk about it. And so I want to ask, I mean, it's a big question. It's something that, you know, through this project, we're trying to make it easier. What makes it so hard to talk about crystal meth and PNP in our community?
We don't introduce ourselves, we just go right there. Okay.
What, social taboos around sex and drugs, and then the different drug hierarchies, the fact that we criminalize people who use drugs. That's less of an issue sometimes in the gay community, being able to talk about it, but just that hierarchy. You tell someone you use meth and they look at you like, oof.
Why do you think that is?
I'll let others talk.
I mean, I've seen so often people who don't use, who be like, oh, I don't judge, but like, I would never do that. And I'm like, that's judgment. And it's important. It blocks the conversation. And then the more the conversation is blocked, the more taboo it becomes. And then I've heard from so many people who use crystal meth that the only people that they can talk about PNP with are other people who PNP because they open the door to that conversation. They can have very long conversations about it, and then they cannot talk with anyone. So it just sort of like isolates our community between people who PNP and people who don't judge but would like never do that.
Absolutely, yeah. There's this element of, like, especially within queer community, gay community, the sense of awareness about drugs and maybe perhaps an ease to talk about it, but the actual nature of that often carries a lot of judgment. And so there are little ways that, you know, somebody has explored PNP within our friend circles or whatever it is, and somehow we've, you know, we describe that in private conversations with other friends who don't PNP about that person's experience in negative and judgmental ways, and that sort of creates exclusion for that person, but also creates an element of mistrust. Like we're creating, like people are very observant to the way that we have the language that we have around PNP, and say that person that we just talked to about that other person may explore PNP through circumstances that are complex and varied, and don't see that they can trust other people except for people who also PNP to talk about their experience. And so there is ways that we've sort of been unconscious about how we talk about it in our community, and think that we are kind of radical because we're queer and we have, you know, a history of, you know, dancing and like exploring it, but not actually walking that talk in a real meaningful and compassionate way.
Absolutely. I mean, what we've heard from so many queer men is that, you know, they start experimenting with, say, crystal meth, and things are going fine. And then the moment that it's not okay, or it gets a little, you know, a little messy, for lack of a better word, that their entire friend circle, their peers, they're shut out of the circle. And for the folks, you know, many of you have held a lot of space for that pain in providing services and supports to folks. How do you help them navigate that?
Can I say something on the first question?
Yeah.
I think one thing we didn't touch on, but we need to not neglect, if for those of us who were alive in the like 90s and early 2000s, were all the fear campaigns around drugs. With like, I remember being in the metro in Montreal or like everywhere and be like, this is like Nancy, and this is Nancy after like 1 year of doing crystal meth, and like having that photo of like someone who looks like, I don't find the right word, but you all see what I have in my head. And like, there is that idea that like, oh, people who do drugs will look like this. And it's really serves no purpose. I don't think I have to sell this idea that like fear campaigns don't help on anything at any time, but it's been really, really damaging and in so many ways and so many levels.
You're right. They don't help, and they actually drive it underground. They create that fear and stigma. And I think for the health and social service providers in the audience too, you sometimes forget that you are seeing people that are really struggling coming in the doors. The people that aren't struggling are not coming in your doors, and that feeds a certain narrative around what that drug does and what it looks like as well.
Do you think we've demonized like crystal meth use specifically in the queer community?
Not just in the queer community, I think outside the queer community as well. And then also the influence of media and movies and shows like Breaking Bad that just sensationalizes.
And I think that, you know, healthcare in general, like, you know, has this attitude of wanting to help people, but, you know, same in public health, the approaches can become misguided. And I think when I think back to like the first time we were doing the Hello, my name is Tina, or Hi, my name is Tina in here on the stage, it was exactly this like same conversation about the fear messaging, the, you know, all the things that are in it with the picture of, toluene and all these chemicals that go into it. It's like it was so over the top, it was ignored. And it ignores the fact that there is a spectrum of use. There's a number of guys who are using every now and again. They're not having any problems with it. Same way people can drink alcohol and not have a problem with it. But we do tend to lose our minds about the illicit drugs because we've made them illegal. So I'm just not going to talk about it. So I'm not going to talk to my doctor that I'm doing these things. And so there's a distortion that happens. I really think Nick's quite accurate there. And I you know, in the helping professions that are dealing with substance use problems, we've also recognized that if you want somebody to kind of be able to reflect on what they want to do for themselves, you have to remove all the judgment you bring to these conversations. And it is a task and a half to work with people who've come into the helping professions, who have in society been enculturated into the idea that if you just tell someone all the bad things that might happen to them, that they're going to change their mind. Now, I don't know, but we've been in a few parties and that was not effective.
Maybe even on this stage, actually, once or twice before. You touched, Tim, on providers and the importance of like letting go of that judgment and that stigma. So I guess to put it to folks, we have a lot of providers in the room. How can providers support disclosure about PNP? How do you create the space in which that conversation can even happen?
Have a queer space. I think one of the reasons I now work at HQ is just a firm belief that if we are in our community, with our community, and we make a space entirely sex positive, we work hard to remove judgment, that it just becomes easier to have these conversations. Normalize asking, right? Like, don't make it like, oh, I just have this other little question. Don't worry. Like, just normalize. Like, hey, you need testing for STIs? Come on by. We make it convenient. We make it, and then through the whole process, go the extra mile to prove that you are not going to judge and give people the supports they need. I think that can go a long way. And we just need to recognize that we will spend a lot of our time digging ourselves out of the intention and the judgment that people have felt other places. And we have to prove that we're not going to be like that.
Beautiful. We're going to touch on HQ a little bit more this evening. Any final thoughts on that question?
Just being mindful to the audience, like we're in Toronto right now, but outside of Toronto, this conversation gets even harder. And the Gay Men's Sexual Health Alliance work provincially right across the province. There's some really good stuff happening in some of the smaller communities, but the extra layers of stigma that exist there and the culturally appropriate supports they're non-existent in some places.
So Shahzad shared, sorry, Gavin, go ahead. Yeah.
And just to add to what you're saying, Dr. Tim, an element of like check your assumptions. And I feel like through my process of working within a service provider agency act, the guidance that I received from Jordan, of course, and I will always call you and like celebrate you for the wisdom that you shared, and through even the journey of making like the learning and the growth edges that I had to move through in order to be able to create a program around a program around PNP that had and was led by folk who had PNP experience, and that element of like, are you connected to people who PNP? Are you connected to people who use drugs? Are you learning from them? Are you listening to them? Are you uplifting their voices? And are you incorporating them into the programming and the work?
So important. Thank you. So Shahzad shared, people around me to catch me, which I thought was really powerful, and spoke to the importance of surrounding yourself with community and with people who show up for you. Dylan's story is next, and it really shows the trajectory of experience when you don't have that support and when that's not the case. So let's hear from Dylan.
Don't all gay guys feel like they're a loser if they're not getting laid? I'm an artist who makes music and a little bit of visual art, but for my day job, I am now officially a forklift operator. I have a very clear memory of the first time that I did crystal meth. In grade 9, we were on a quest to just do like every drug that we could find. Things were snowballing very, very quickly. I happily volunteered my, house to go and do it. And so we skipped school. Like 5 minutes into the busting up line process, I had just done my first line. We just heard like the front door open. My dad was coming in, brushed the meth like off the table, and he was just like, "What is that?" He just didn't know what to do, so he decided to call the cops. One of the cops just like sat on the couch and like ridiculed me, was like asking these questions like, what kind of music you listen to? What the heck are you like wearing here? Like, what's this all about? And was like asking these questions, and I was just like having like, heart palpitations and so anxious. And the other one went upstairs to my bedroom and like went through all of my shit with my dad, found ketamine up there, found my little like snorting kit, and it was like a nightmare. I was immediately suspended from school. Some of the teachers told the kids to, you know, stay away from me because I was like a meth dealer. And then suddenly everyone knew that I used it, and people in my family knew that I used it. And meth like became really like fused to my identity at this like really early age. And at that time when all that happened, like I hadn't even done it twice. In my university years, that's when crystal meth sort of became more about my linkage to the gay community and something that I would do like at gay bars and gay clubs and stuff like that. Being gay is kind of this like weird like ladder of like discomfort where at first you're like uncomfortable with your body and like your family, and you're uncomfortable with like being exposed to the community, and then you're uncomfortable with the drug use, and then you're uncomfortable with like crystal meth. But then once you do crystal meth, all of a sudden then like that discomfort like falls apart. It felt like crystal was like this magical substance that all of a sudden like relieved all of that discomfort that I felt with my body and with myself and with sex. Crystal almost started to become like this, you know, necessary tool to like get laid. My need to make sure that I get laid, it just always was like so much more important than safety. And I hate to say that. I think a part of the reason is because I, you know, was just like so desperate for being a person that got laid. That we're talking about like the times where I've had sex with like one person on crystal, and that started to be like a pattern of my life. But the more, you know, prevalent pattern would be going out, wishing that I got laid, being really horny because of meth, and then going home and just like obsessively jerking off like for hours and hours and hours until like my dick would hurt. I was using crystal daily, and the same thing kept happening. I would start using, and then I would become extremely paranoid of my surroundings, that I was going to be like found out or busted or something like that. So the whole act of using became a very fear-inducing experience. I would start to hear voices that were telling me that if I used one more line of meth that I would die. Just sit like paralyzed on my couch, feeling like, oh, like I still have more drugs, but I'm so fucking scared to use them. I would like actually just like in a moment like be able to like flush the meth down the toilet, and then I would wake up every day and I'm like, I'm gonna be clean today, like I will not use today. And like somehow I would always end up like picking up from my dealer like every afternoon. Like I don't know what would happen. I sort of like realized that, you know, I was like literally trapped in a repetitive behavior where the same day was repeating over and over and over again. It was like deja vu every single day. I don't know, there was just like this thought that started sneaking in that like maybe I was done. I've like written songs about this. I'm really like searching for the cause, like the day that, you know, that like I was ready. Part of it I think was just like voices that were telling me that I was gonna die were very, very severe, and I started to eventually trust that I was going to die, I guess, you know, and I felt like I like realized that, you know, just in time or something. You know, I think that it's gonna take me a lot of years to try to like unravel 15 years of growing up like using drugs almost every day. I was developing my sense of self and my sense of identity while I was like ingesting crystal meth. I don't have a relationship with drugs that make me high anymore or that provide me with any escape. I've accomplished, you know, more than I ever have in the 4 years that I've been clean than I think like the 15 years prior to that in life, in like a really substantial kind of way in terms of what means most to me as a person. I've discovered more about myself than I ever discovered, I think, in those years. And part of that has been about like being in a state of mind to actually assess what the fuck happened in my life. Because when you're actually using, you can never have the clarity of mind to be able to understand why you did all the things that you did, you know, like work through it, go to therapy or like sitting across from a therapist and actually like take in what's going on. You know, I need sobriety to understand what's going on around me and what's going on within me. I really wish that I knew that adding crystal meth to my earliest experiences of intimacy with people would have long-reaching effects on, you know, my experience with intimacy. You know, like I tried meth for the first time when I was 15, and I'm 31 now and dealing with the repercussions of what having sex without meth is like. I am dating in my life. I'm dating someone who has a very similar experience as me. That has been the closest thing to like being able to let myself go. Is weirdly like the first feeling in my life where I'm like, oh shit, like I really want this, and I'm like gonna like fight for this. Like, I'm gonna make this happen. Who am I as a sexual being, you know, without meth? And then I'm still trying to answer that question, and I'm still trying to like find who that person is. And then I feel like meth kind of like put me into a maze that I'm not sure I've found my way out of yet. I feel like if I was still doing meth, you know, I would be in that maze and loving it or hating it, but certainly not in a position to find my way out. And I'm here talking about it, so like I feel constantly grateful that like I'm like able to break down some of the stigma and shock factor that I think comes from people's experience dealing with, you know, crystal.
All right. So, I mean, Dylan shared, you know, not being supported while experimenting, the first time being a nightmare, you know, the power of disinhibition and safety taking a back seat. You know, for folks who are interested in crystal meth, looking to experiment with P&P, what should they know at the outset? What would you tell them?
Okay. I loved what Shahzad had also said in his video about reflecting, like you deserve reflection. And there's an element of that's not often discussed when people are experiencing substance use, that there are, of course, many factors relating to use that was also discussed just now about like sexuality, exploring sexuality in an uninhibited way. So beginning to engage in that reflective process to understand your needs, to understand where you are in that respect, to and not to exclude substance use as a part of a solution to that, but to acknowledge that that may be filling that specific space, and there are ways to engage with other aspects of your life as well, and in a holistic way, to see yourself holistically. And then also harm reduction, right? Which is about, starting low, going slow. Like that is, I think there's a fast pacedness to masculinity, to like expectation around hard and fast, et cetera, that envisioning slow and slow is kind of can be quite not exciting, but it absolutely is an appropriate thought. And using the people that you trust, building relationships with people, I had one other thought, but I want to.
I mean, you're definitely touching on practical strategies, and I feel like Nick, you're just itching to share something, so we're going to turn it over to you.
No, what I love, building relationships. So talking to other people that do this already, and then there's a theoretical framework that when I started using drugs was really useful to me, which is drug set and setting, or the drug, the set and the person. So learn everything you can about the drugs and how they work in your body and what they do. Are they stimulants? Are they depressants? What are the risks? But talk to people about their experiences too. I mean, all drugs, whether they're illegal or legal, alcohol can be extremely dangerous for some people, and other people have no issues with it at all. The same can be true of crystal meth. Same can be true of fentanyl. You just need to understand why you want to do this, maybe why you don't want to do it, what the drugs do, the context in which you're doing it, and then try to figure out, it's easier said than done sometimes, but just keeping that balance of everything that's going on in your life. And a lot of that is just building relationships and building that sense of community when you can. It's a lot harder to do for some people and different communities and cultures. It becomes a lot harder to make those connections and build those networks, but knowledge is power, and educate yourself as best you can about all this stuff.
And Nick, not to put you on the spot, but for decades now, you've been, an advocate for decriminalization, more recently for safe supply. We don't really hear a lot about that through sort of a queer lens or within the gay community. Is there anything you'd want folks to impart with folks tonight about that?
I think decriminalizing drugs removes the stigma around them. Hopefully, it will treat it more as a health or social issue. It would, allow quality and potency assurance if we actually legalized and regulated the drugs. I really would love to have a conversation one day, though, what it does around the taboo nature of drugs and whether that actually deters people from doing them or not. Because I think there is an element of, using illegal drugs in the gay community, this is something I'm choosing to do. Society's told me it's bad to be gay. Society's told me I shouldn't be doing drugs. Well, fuck you. I'm going to do these. I'm going to make that choice. And I don't know in a legal framework what that would look like.
I know I keep thinking, like, I'm sure if we just make crystal meth legal, a lot of people are going to stop using it because it's not cool anymore. But maybe I'm wrong.
You know, you're saying drug set and setting. It was exactly the same thing I was thinking, because I was thinking about what Dylan was saying to us was so clear. You know, he got high with friends. He was in the mindset this was going to be fun. That's the set. And he was in a setting in the house. And that mindset shifted when dad opened the fucking door, right? I am no longer thinking this is fun. I'm thinking I'm in shit, right? And the setting changed as soon as there's a police officer in front of you, right? So drug set and setting totally influences how we experience a drug. And actually being able to plan that out for yourself, the way you want that experience to go, is really critical. And knowing what you will do if for your best plans, it all goes to shit. What are you going to do then? Right? And so I think for people experimenting, that's what I want them to know. What's the drug? You know enough about it. What's your mindset going in? What do you want to get out of this? What's that setting? That's been our harm reduction mantra for a long time. To the decriminalization question, I think I was recent, just to bring a bit of science, to bring some research, reading some research recently about this. Since the legalization of cannabis, I will let you know the sky has not fallen down. If you didn't notice, but there have been publication after publication looking for more people coming psychotic to our emergency rooms. That has not happened. More people with cannabis-induced psychosis coming to our emergency rooms. That has not happened. Pregnancy. I have not looked at that data yet, but from what you're saying, it's probably not happened. On the other hand, what has happened is that people are asking more questions and asking better questions, and people are being more honest about their substance use. And so actually the rate of schizophrenia seems to be going down, which makes no sense at all, except that maybe now when I talk to you, you tell me you were smoking up, and now I have a better explanation of why you're acting this way right now in front of me. So honesty can be part of drug decriminalization. So I'm part of a group, Doctors for Decriminalization. If you'd like to join, you're a doc out there, you want to join. We have sicking all the med students on the federal parliament this October, and we're going to try to convince all your members of parliament to work on this. Please join us, send a message, and let them know this needs to happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
One last thing too, you know, we lost the gay community lost an entire generation of guys, and there was not that cross-generational transfer of knowledge and experience. And I would just encourage any guys that are still in the PNP scene and seeing newbies coming into it, you know, teach them what you know. Share that knowledge. There's such a wealth of information. Again, it was 15 years ago, we were sitting on this stage having the same conversation, and where's that information gone? You know, we don't do a good job at cross-generational
Importance of
knowledge
being
sharing
mentors,
and
absolutely,
being
yeah.
part of a community.
For sure. You know, what I really heard through Dylan's story was so many layers to PNP, and we talk a lot about the importance of considering the whole person when we're providing care or support. You know, it was clear that for him, he needed abstinence, and for some folks, they might want to modify their use. So understanding that as providers, how do you best help folks figure out what's going to work for them and what's their needs are?
Provided, ask people what do you need right now. There's such a tendency in the health and social services to patronize and paternalize and pathologize people, and we think we know what's best.
Just ask them.
But these are the guys that do all that work. So,
I mean, thank you, Jordan, for opening my eyes at some point in my work, because there's a moment where even I was doing the work, and because of the nature of my job, people who were coming to me were coming just to stop, and that was the only narrative that I was having around crystal meth for like the longest time. And I stopped for a minute to understand who is the person in front of me, and it was just because it wasn't my job. And then it took Jordan and other people who were like, oh, you know, not everybody wants to stop. And I was like, that's true. Just because those people are coming to me looking for like the secret miracle for stopping that I did not have. And on that note, in Dylan's video, he says something. He says like, oh, I was not ready. And then when I was ready, I stopped. And that narrative is great for people who achieve sobriety, but I've also hear that narrative really hurt a lot of people because if they're not able to stop or they don't want to stop, they're constantly told, oh, it's because you're not ready. Oh, don't worry. When you're ready, it's going to work. When you're ready, blah, blah. And the idea that a one-size-fits-all solution or way of living would exist makes very little sense in everything. So why would it make sense in sobriety and being ready or not? So it's weird because I hear those stories, and I've worked with people who had that narrative of oh yeah, at some point I was ready and then it worked, and it's beautiful for them. But the shame that some people experience because it's your fault if you're not able to stop meth. It's because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're not ready enough. That's really damaging too. So I just wanted to put that out there.
No, thank you. It's an excellent point. Final question before our next video. Tim, you're the director of mental health at HQ, which is a new and gorgeous health center for gay men here in the city of Toronto. And I know that the services, particularly on the mental health and substance use side specifically, were designed with the needs of guys who P&P in mind. Could you tell us a little bit more about what's being offered? If I was interested in accessing those services, what would that experience be?
Yeah, so we're built around a sexual health clinic. So the first thing is that we want this to be integrated. So you come in, we want you to get the sexual health care you need. We want it to be destigmatized. And we're going to ask everyone at every visit if there's any mental health help that we could offer. And that just makes it normalized. It happens to all of us. We ask you about if you're struggling with suicide, self-harm. If you are, you can expect that someone's going to pop out of their office. They're going to come find you, and they're going to just have a conversation, try to figure out ways to help you be safer for the next while, and let you know about what we have to offer. If you just come in, you say you need some mental health help. We're high tech where we are. You see, it's meant to be very efficient. So you can swipe your OHIP card, prints out the labels for your own testing. You go in the bathrooms, they show you a little video of how to swab yourself up your butt, in your mouth, and you just collect everything, drop it off. 4 hours later, we're going to text you your STI results. We want that to be rapid, fast, convenient for you. Mental health, similarly, you come in, you need mental health help. We're going to do some online self-assessments. You can do it from home. You can do it when you're comfortable. Sit down in front of the computer, ask some questions. We'll review it, and we'll invite you in. We have what's called a stepped care model. So we're looking for how intensive a service do you need? Maybe you just need some self-management stuff, like some clues on where to get started, things to read, videos to watch, stuff to kind of think about the issues. Maybe you need a bit more. You can come to one of our groups, meet other guys, other trans folk that are kind of thinking about this stuff, trying to figure out what you want to do. It doesn't have to be high pressure. We're here to listen. And mostly we want to facilitate guys talking to other guys about what's working for them. And then at some point, if you need something more, we'll put you into evidence-based treatments that we've got up and running. We polled the community of frontline workers at the ASOs, family doctors that are working in the community, and we asked what's missing. And we heard some pretty loud, clear messages. We don't have enough care if you do want to change your meth use. Where do you go? So we're putting those services in place. And we read the literature and realized there's not good evidence. We'll have an entire research project that's starting this year to develop new things that are actually important for our community. The second thing is we've heard there's no trauma care. The number of us who've been bullied, assaulted, molested throughout our lives and need help with that is high. Recovery, you heard from Dylan, it's not just about making a decision about your substance use. It's about figuring out who you want to be and living your best life. So we want to have those services for that. And the last thing we do is a common thing that we heard is that there are some people who just struggle with their emotions, get the best of them, they get overwhelmed, they get impulsive. And we're doing some programming that helps address that. So those are big things, but we're new, so we're going to adapt to whatever is needed. And I guess the last piece to say is we are also including peers at all levels. So we have peers in our groups, we have peer-led programming. There were just there's groups of guys getting together to meet and talk about the things that they feel are important. So you can always just come by, check out what we've got on offer, and if there's something you want to offer, just let us know. We'll make it happen.
Thank you. It's a beautiful facility, and we encourage folks, if you haven't been, to check it out. That's HQ Toronto over at
790 Bay. We're at Bay and College, 8th floor. You walk in the building, you could be going there because you're getting your pregnancy test or your birth control. Less likely that, but on the 8th floor beside the sleeping clinic is us.
All right, let's have one more story. We know that the experience of PNP is not universal, and it's shaped by aspects of our identity, race, issues around migration, age, HIV status. Our final video, Colin actually touches on that really beautifully, so let's hear from him.
People are going to do drugs, just like people are going to fuck. I mean, so people are going to fuck and do drugs. So you might as well do your best to make both safe.
My name is Colin Johnson, and I work with the African, Caribbean, and Black HIV harm reduction community.
I came out in 1972. I had come to Canada. I went downtown, and I went by what was then the most famous, infamous gay bar in the city of Toronto called the St. Charles. I think I would have been about 14, 15. And as I was passing by, a young gentleman came out the door and asked me if I wanted a beer. And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm not old enough. And he said, oh yeah, you can come in. And that was my introduction to gay life. It was so alive and so exciting that I fell in love. I literally fell in love. The first time I did crystal meth, it was a very perfect little crystal, and I smoked it on that occasion. And I think myself and the guy who I was with, I think we fucked, I guess, for the next day. We fucked, we sucked. I mean, I don't think there was anything we didn't do that night. Party and play is basically sex using drugs to enhance the feeling, the period, the time. It extends the duration of the sex, but they also have the extra benefit of relaxing oneself and releasing you for your normal control, so to speak. One of the reasons why I started party and playing also was the people I was party and playing with were also positive. For so many of us who were getting rejected from people who were not HIV, the party and play group made it easier for us. I have never had an issue with drugs. I have a couple of people who supply me. So if they don't have good shit, they'll tell me, Colin, we don't have good stuff. So I'm not going to sell you anything. If I call my two people and they don't have it, it's a sign from God that I shouldn't be doing it that weekend. And that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? For the most part, it's the heightened media outlook where it's all bad. And the media only talks to those people for whom it has been bad, for whom it has been problematic. It sends a wrong message as far as I'm concerned. And it stigmatizes it. It gives the overall impression that party and play and gay sex, which is what they link it to, are both bad. It also prevents people who are party and playing from reaching out for help. And I think that's where the real damage is done. People are going to do drugs, just like people are going to fuck. I mean, so people are going to fuck and do drugs. So you might as well do your best to make both safe. I have gotten calls about young guys coming up. A lot of them are coming from countries where homosexuality is illegal or punishable. It's criminalized. Let's say 13, 14, when you're just reaching puberty and you see a cute ass, you think about it, you get a hard on, but then, you know, the church is telling you you're a demon, you're a devil, you're going to hell. When you add all of those negative concepts to your sex, it does not become a wholesome, a holistic thing. The output of that is that a lot of young black gay men turn to drugs as well. That's how they can forget about all the guilt and actually just have sex for the sake of sex. They walk away, they feel happy, and then the next morning the guilt sets in again and the whole fucking process starts over. So the linkage of sex to party and play becomes so overwhelming that it starts causing problems. It's not an easy conversation to have, but it's a conversation that we need to have. So when a friend comes to me and wants to either quit or wants to change how they're partying and playing, my response tends to be, I'm there, okay? How do you want to go about this? The idea being, let them tell me, not me guiding them to responses that I think I need to hear.
It's got to be their route. It's their journey. So all I'm going to be there to do is to help them along that journey. We need to support guys who party and play. Reassure them that you are there for them. Nothing makes somebody feel more comfortable than knowing that there's somebody who has their back.
I love that. I love the kind of like nonchalant way Colin just expresses himself. It's just wonderful. He said, one of the things that stood out to me was he shared that when someone comes to me, it's like, I'm there. And that's all he said. And I thought it was really powerful. So final question for each of you. How can people who provide services and care to gay men and folks in the community, how do we show up for our community who's using crystal meth or who P&Ps?
I mean, check your own assumption about the drugs and about gay sex. And even if you're a gay person who has gay sex and who does drugs, you still have assumption about the drugs and about gay sex. So check that. You're not here for yourself. You're here for the other people. And that would be a good place to start. And keep being here and go on partyandplay.info.
As I was thinking what you said earlier, I think listening is the key thing. I mean, you can ask questions and you sound like you're interrogating someone. I think just listening is important. I also think it's important to open up conversations that are likely to be uncomfortable. Bring up kink, ask about this, ask what people are into, talk about what a positive sex life could look like moving forward. We set these grooves into our minds in the way that we do things. And, there's in sex therapy, we know there's a lot of, the way you masturbate creates a kind of path. That's the only way I can get off. And when someone's stuck in a particular way, you just want to open them up to take out orgasm, try to re-experience the full sensuality of your body. And I think that that's part of what we can do by listening well. As he was saying, what's that goal for you, and work towards those things. But I do think there's some areas that are likely to be hidden, and be prepared to open those conversations.
Yeah, people can tell when you're being authentic in your interest and your genuine curiosity about their experience. And so checking your assumptions, but also educating yourself on specific drugs. There's a lot of resources. There's this one. There's also the Safer P&P from Dusk Till Dawn resource, which is it's a resource of the Act that discusses partying before you party, during it, and after, and sort of having harm reduction strategies all along the way. And also being honest, if you don't, with your friends, like if you don't necessarily know a lot about experiences around P&P, but you want to suggest that you're there for them, you can say that. You can say, it doesn't matter whether you use drugs or not, I'm here for you, I love you, I care about you, I want to be there for you. And so to be able to really embody that, everyone's learning, everyone's in a state of growth, no one's perfect. And so we can always be there for each other in the ways that is ideal, but we can certainly be there for each other. And so to really allow yourself that space and couple that with education.
Thank you.
I think you asked specifically around health and social service providers, and I think I'm focusing on that. You know what? Some health and social service providers are just not cut out to do this kind of work, and that's a reality. And they need to realize when they're being voyeuristic, when they're just don't know enough, and have to reflect hard on that. Because not everyone's going to be able to build those relationships with gay men. Not everyone's going to understand the drug use in the community and the culture. And that's where it gets back to your earlier point, Gavin. Empowering people who use drugs to be part of designing and delivering programs and services. Any mainstream harm reduction service right now, some drug treatment, even drug treatment actually, it was started by drug users for drug users. It was never organizations, institutions, or governments coming along and saying, we're here to help you. It was community doing it for themselves. And organizations need to recognize that and find people and let them do the work themselves.
Thank you. You know, you all gave so much to yourselves in the studio over those many days, and have really made a difference in so many people's lives in the community. So I want to thank you all. As you exit the stage, we're going to play a video. We asked you all why you do this work, and so we're going to air that now, and then we're going to go into a wrap up. So thank you all.
I get to see queer men living outrageously resilient lives. It's inspiring.
I kept separate and away from substance use care because I didn't like the sort of judgmental attitudes towards people who use drugs. I was a raver, I was at parties, I've used many of the substances people are talking about and not had problems, and I feel lucky and blessed. I know that for some of those in our community, it doesn't go that way. And so I want to make sure that there's services available, that people don't feel judged. I mean, we've, as a community, faced so much judgment in ways that I think isolate us and make it hard to make changes. I don't think people recover just because you go see a doctor or you see a therapist. I think you recover because you see those people and your community comes around you, or you build a community around yourself to support yourself in recovery. And the benefits that come from that are phenomenal. So in that, I feel joy, while I also feel the sadness that I know there are guys out there that are struggling right now.
I was very involved in going dancing in the rave scene. I made a choice one night I'm going to go to this rave. I went with 3 girls. They'd never been to one. That first time I did ecstasy, I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew those risks. It was also the first time I saw someone die. This guy was being carried out. I was high on E, peaking like I'd never been so good in my life, and there's a dead body. I didn't know him, but I found out later, 23 years old, left behind a pregnant girlfriend. It's just so unnecessary, such a preventable death. So I think that's a big moment for me as to why I got into doing some of this kind of stuff. It's tiring, it really is. I have a lot of friends that use, I'm connected to many harm reduction workers, I'm connected to many people who use drugs, and it has become, particularly since 2016, 17, it has become really, it's hard. So many deaths, like I've lost count. All of this, it's all so preventable, and the solutions are staring us right in the face. We're not addressing the root causes of the issues. Prohibition and criminalization. We're doing all these band-aids. It's naloxone, it's injection sites, it's needle exchange, it's drug treatment. You know, all of these are band-aids because the root cause of the problem, the stigma that criminalization creates, the toxic drug supply that's created by it, it's not changing, and that's what keeps me going, is that we just have to change that.
It's a very difficult job, and that's why there's such a huge turnover rate in our communities in the people that can help. It mixed up with my personal life, where I would go out on to Toronto Island or in the gay village and see my clients when they're high. And the week before, they told me they did not want to get high. And now I'm in my personal life, and what do I do with this knowledge? Do I bring it in therapy next time I see them or not? There's no great answer. Because let's be real, there's an array of people who use crystal meth, and some of them are super sweet, and some of them are extremely toxic and trigger everything that's inside of me. And all of these people deserve the same help and the same care from me. I think most of the time I just laugh my way through my life. And it has worked well for me, and hopefully it works well with the people that I work with. So my whole life has been finding a balance between being able to work in that field and not burning out, and I'm still on a daily basis trying to strike that balance.
I am a member of a community that is struggling, and I think it is important for human beings who exist in a particular community that is struggling to look within, right? To understand how to support your own community. The chemical itself leaves some people feeling like for the first time they are brave, they are empowered, They are feeling some level of assertion that they haven't otherwise experienced in their life. My hope is we have a different call to action. We have a different response that is more around empathy and compassion and safety, as opposed to replicating the hate that we ourselves have experienced as individuals.
This work is important to me because I myself am a queer man of color, and I understand the forces which have really created trauma in my own life. And to heal my own trauma, it's really important for me to connect with community and to share that experience of healing that we're all going through on this planet. And so it's a spiritual thing for me as well to be able to channel my own energy into supporting community and devoting myself in that way. And I get to see queer men living outrageously resilient lives. It's inspiring at the end of the day to see other people who are in different experiences than myself living their life to the fullest and you know, are coping with trauma in resilient ways. The impact that I get to have, that I'm really lucky to have, providing support for guys, it allows me to create a community that is empowered to live their best life and thrive.
All right. All right. We have approached the end of, I guess, the more kind of formal program. I'm hoping folks will stick around. We've got some great bartenders who are going to take care of us. Aaron, who's going to maybe get us dancing, actually, and some good food to go around. You know, we heard from a lot of providers in this project, and we know that the experiences that queer men have when we're at a sexual health clinic, when we're at our doctor's office, when we're talking to a counselor, these experiences can really shape our lives and change the trajectory of our experiences. And so a big part of this project is to increase the capacity of service providers across the province. I'm really proud that through the work that Devin and Jordan have developed, we have Canada's first continuing medical education on Party and Play, which is available for physicians and clinicians to better understand and better serve our community. But we have a range of other opportunities as well, and Jordan's going to share a little bit about go ahead, about all of their work, actually, on those trainings.
Thank you, thank you. I'm going to sit down for this one, I think, because I really love the sofa. To talk to you a little bit about what we're doing at the GMSH, we are offering a number of trainings for folks. Why is that a compelling offer? I think what we've done really well at GMSH is we've listened to community, we've incorporated the voices of lived experience with the cutting edge research that's out there around chemsex and PNP, and incorporated the two into some really compelling training offerings. I'm proud of the CME that Dane mentioned. We're also doing some training for Alliance members. This can be focused on frontline workers. We're really trying to give bespoke training to different roles and different services that are out there. So if you or your colleagues want training for harm reduction workers, or you're thinking about, we could really use it in this particular sector, come to us and talk to us about that, because we'd like to know. I think what else we're really focused on, and one thing that I'm really passionate about in my work with the Alliance members, is creating a community of practice. And for those not familiar with the concept of community of practice, it's basically just colleagues who are like-minded, who share an interest in a subject or a topic, coming together and sharing best practices, knowledge, also sharing the struggles and challenges. There is a lot of difficulty in doing work with PNP, and sometimes we're out there on our own and we don't know who to turn to. I have to admit, as my brooch falls on the floor, oh well, it was a beautiful brooch. I have to admit that I don't know everything about PNP. I cannot possibly speak for every member of this community from rural Ontario, from suburban Toronto. I can't speak to the racialized or trans experience of PNP. Our Alliance members are going to encounter things that can't give them advice on, but their other colleagues can. So I think it's wonderful to form a community practice where once a month we come together, we pick a topic, we have a discussion that's open and frank about PNP, the challenges in the work, the difficulty, and we strategize how to overcome them. I think what I'd like to see is that community practice grow beyond just our Alliance, and any service provider who wants to come to that kind of environment can come and share their challenges, their successes with us, and we all learn from each other. We need to support each other in this work. It's a learning process. As I tell the Alliance members constantly on the phone, whenever they have the misfortune of picking up the phone and talking to me for an hour, this is long haul work. I will tell you very frankly that Guys Who PMP, we're an insular community for a reason. It's because we don't trust service providers. We've had a bad experience. And I mean, if you ever have a couple hours to kill, you can go out for a drink with me, and I will tell you all of the things that doctors and physicians and service providers have said to me over the years that have harmed me profoundly. But I can also tell you, on one hand, there have been some service providers who have done amazing things, and I think of Vincent and of Gavin and a number of other folks in this room who have said incredible, affirming things, or they've listened when I need to be listened to. So service providers have an impact. You really do. And I'm really pleased to see that you've all come out here tonight to talk about this subject. I'm excited for the work ahead with this campaign. I think we've got a lot more interesting things to come. Please use those videos with folks. They're fantastic. And the last thing I just want to mention is that I think two people need to get thanked tonight that don't usually get thanked. I first want to say a shout out to the GMSH team entirely, but I do want to specifically highlight Adam. I think Adam has brought a lot of vision to this project, and I don't think we would have the videos or any of the most exciting and dynamic learnings, dynamic sort of resources this campaign has to offer if it had not been for his vision that was bigger than I think any one of us would have imagined before, and the capacity for us to offer something really unique out there. I also want to thank Dane Griffiths. Let's give Adam a hand. And just on a personal note, I want to thank Dane Griffiths because I know it's going to embarrass him. I'm going to get all emotional up here. Dane has been, he really has been the central figure of this campaign since the day it started. I remember the day I met Dane at the old GMSH office, and you talked to me about what this campaign was all about. And it looked very different back in the day. But I still saw this sort of kernel, like something, we wanted to do something different. And you were so passionate about it. And like, I never wanted to work with gay men in this capacity before. And now look at me. Your vision for this project has been so amazing. Your leadership on this project and your dedication to it. For somebody who does not have a lived experience, I consider you one of the strongest allies and advocates for our community. And I'm really appreciative of everything you've brought to this project. And thank you for the opportunity to do this work. I think Dane deserves a big round of applause for his leadership on this. And I guess last but not least, I do want to thank everybody who has given me an ounce of their time to talk to me about this issue, who's showed up for the videos, who's talked to me for a podcast, who's talked to me about PMP in our private moments, and has helped me learn about this community in a deeper way and has shared themselves with me. The peers who are involved in this project also deserve a huge round of applause because they are the reason that we do the work, and they are the work. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. It takes a village, and I'm so glad that you are part of ours. So one final note, folks actually who have been following this work for some time will remember that back in 2017, a dear friend, a colleague, a mentor, an activist, David Stewart, came to Toronto, and he imparted, I think, a particular call to action for the community, which was we need to support gay men to have the best sex and intimacy with the least amount of harm. We lost David during the pandemic, but I think that call to action is still just as relevant today. So thank you all so very much for joining us tonight, and please stick around for the rest of the night.
Sexy mother.